My name is Ali Woods, I'm 26, I'm from Mill Hill in North London and I've been doing comedy for almost 5 years now. I started doing improv when I was at uni, improv comedy, went to Uni of York, so that was good and that was fun. That was the first time I was on stage. And then when I got back after uni, I sort of was feeling a bit low. And I thought, what can I do to cheer myself up? What do I like? And I like performing comedy. So I started doing stand-up regularly. And then that's how I became, and basically as the years went on, I just get more and more into it. So that's how I got into comedy. And then before that, I used to just watch loads of comedy with my dad. Like when you see Live at the Apollo and they come out and they're killing it and they're so funny, I wanted to be one of those guys. And so yeah, that's how that came about.
She's a scary woman. Anyone get hit when they were a kid? A couple of people, very white middle class audience, fair enough? It's cool. People were like, no, I wasn't hit physically. I was hit financially though. They took away my allowance for 2 weeks. Scary stuff, you know? Cancelled the skiing holiday almost. Yeah, I called the social services on the phone, they just bought me. Fair enough. I got hit a couple of times when I was young by my mum. The most epic was when she hit me with a lightsaber. Thank you. How are people not reacting to that in the front row? Yeah, obviously, I live in London, see everything. Shut up, mate. Energy sword, guys. Energy sword. It was my lightsaber, it wasn't her lightsaber. She was trained in the garage waiting for me to do some shit. She took it off me, right? Beat me, man. My dad was trying to step in the way because he's a nice guy. He was like shooting her from across the bar. She was like, made him do the dishes. It's crazy. I was like, no, father. She was like, I am your father. Scary time for everyone. Yeah.
What made me know I could be a comedian? I'm still waiting on that. Like, I think you always have a lot of self-doubt when you're doing comedy. Like what I know is that I know I can put up with like the work and the hassle and stuff around comedy, and I can keep doing that and get better at comedy. But you're always left, well for me anyway, I'm always left with this doubt like I'll never be the comedian that I want to be. So you just got to work and work and work and get as close as that's possible. There's times when you have a gig, and especially that first gig that properly goes well. I remember it was at Angel Comedy in London, and it was the first gig where I recorded it, I listened back to it like 15, 20 times. And normally I listen back like 50 or 60 times, no? But just listen back to it a lot because I was like, that felt like comedy to me. It felt like I was saying sentences, there was a laugh, I say another sentence, that was a laugh, and that was the first time I was like, maybe I could become something like that. But you never know, for me, I've never known that I can do it. My first gig in London when I started doing it was, that was in like the basement of a pub, don't think it runs anymore. It was called like Pear-Shaped Comedy or Pear-Faced Comedy or something like that. The audience comprised of the comedians, my dad and his mate, and it was it was sort of diabolical. And there was a guy playing ukulele, and he only had 2 fingers, and he was one of the better acts. Yeah, that was what my first gig, like properly out of like a uni bubble was. You get worse performances for different reasons. My worst performance, because there's ones where it's a good gig and you do badly, and there's ones where you just have a shit time on stage because it's just horrific. But it's not necessarily because you underperformed or anything. One that strikes out to me was first time I did King Gong Comedy Store, and it was Halloween night, 31st of October, right? And there's people in fancy dress. There's 4 dudes dressed as the Grim Reapers with jugs of beer, each with their own jug of beer under their seat, and they were there to see comedy deaths. That's what they wanted. And you know, you got to last 5 minutes at the show, and then if they've got free cards, then you're out. And I remember going in, obviously really nervous, but thinking like, you know, maybe I could do it and stuff like that. And I got up to about 2 minutes, and then someone shouted out something I said, and they were like, "You stole that!" And I was like, "What? No, I haven't. Fuck off!" and then the crowd just fucking switched on me, booze, but everyone was like, oh, you stolen material and all that shit. But at that point, what can I say? I can't be like, the more I say like, no, I haven't, because I hadn't. But like, what can you say? It was like the best heckle of it, because like, then they're like, what? And then fucking card, boo, music goes, and I'm like angry, and I'm also like feeling like, have I stolen material? What's going on there? And all this chaos, and then it's just that, luckily, I was in the first half, so I went at half time, no messing about. I take my hat off to anyone who goes to the first half of that show, dies, and then stays for the rest of the acts. What is in your head? I was out of there, and I was just like, nah, this is a chicken and home job. No questions asked, man. I wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. So that will always be ingrained in my head of like the hatred of the crowd. Hatred of the crowd, man. But you know, that's part of it, man. So the worst heckle I had, that was a good one. I remember in Edinburgh, I was doing this late night gig, and it was like, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival was a month long, and I was halfway through. I was in a slump. I was like, I hadn't had a couple of good gigs in a row. I was tired. I just like, I need to get through this gig. I was doing my stuff, and there was this bit where I had to build up tension for like a big punchline at the end, what I thought was a big punchline. And it's just this group of lads at the back, and I remember it so distinctly. I can still hear his voice in my head. I'm trying to build up the tension, and then this guy cups his mouth at the back, just goes, "You ginger bastard!" And then it was just like, all right, well, you know, time to go home. It was so cutting, because the silence of the room as well just helped. And then obviously people laugh at that, and I'm like, well, fuck all you, fuck everyone else. So yeah, that one was pretty bad. You know what I say about this one when people say how hard is it to be a comedian? I honestly think that anyone can be a comedian. Like, that's a big fallacy that I want to dispel, is that when I was watching that TV, I thought these guys were like divinely funny. I thought they were just like born funny. They were just making it all up on the spot. They were the funniest people in the pub, all that stuff. And then you realise that a lot of it is just work and just not giving up and just paying your dues and all that. So in that way, I think it's easier for people. It comes more naturally to people. Some people can tell jokes better. Some people get humour better. But anyone can be a comedian. But the hard part is just doing it every day. That's the hard part. It's like the gym. In you know, anyone can go lift a weight, but if you want to lift heavier and heavier weights, like, you've got to go back, and even when it's shit, and even when you're in pain and all that stuff, and you've got to get on these trains, hour or two out into the middle of nowhere to like Stockton upon Lynn under King or whatever the hell this place is that no one's ever heard of, going past all these villages that you like, and then you do all that, you go there, you do a very average gig, you get 50 quid, and then you're on your train back on your own on a Friday night when your mates are buzzing like, are you out tonight? Like, what are you saying? And that is where it's hard. It is about that mentality of just continuing to do it, because if you don't do that, you don't get any better. And the minute you stop trying with so much of your focus and your heart, then you start slipping down. So that's where it's hard. It's a mentality thing. But I believe anyone could do it if they want to, but it's just you've got to really put the practice in. Well, I hope someone laughs at my jokes sometime. That's the end goal of mine. Like, that would be good. But I was actually asked this yesterday. You know, I think I want to get to a point in terms of an end goal of comedy where I can have a career where people say, "What do you want to do next?" And I can create something with exciting, interesting people, and leave this body of work that is well within, like, popular and all the stuff. Like, you know, I recently rewatched The Office, like Ricky Gervais's breakthrough show, and I was watching with my mate. My mate fucking loves it, man, and I like it too. But I'm just like, that's sick, that idea of just leaving a legacy, you know? Like when you watch stand-up bits from the 60s or 70s or whatever, and you're like, it doesn't matter what that person does after that, they've left this bit of art there. So I sort of want to get to that point with comedy for me where I'm successful enough, I'm well-liked enough, that I can just be able to create whatever I want, basically, whatever I want.
I didn't lose my virginity until later. I started going on the pool. I like going on the pool. I like it. I don't like the phrase "on the pool." It sounds a bit aggressive for me. You know, I mean, what is that? On the pool. A pool. I'm going to pull this girl away from the fun she's having. I used to that, man. I liked it. Liked prepping, getting pre-drinks going with my mates. It's fun, man. Yeah. Everyone's sitting around, drinking, music on, start scheming. Work out what everyone's roles are going to be on the night out. When we get there, you two, you check in the clothes. When you two, you go to the bar, get the drinks in. Darren, you stay out of the way because you're fucking weird, man. Darren's there like, oh, we're going to fuck some pussy tonight. Yeah. I want a blowjob. We know, Darren. We know. I never liked the pressure of going out there. You had to pull. That was what we said. You have to pull when you go out, lads. You have to pull. That's why you're there. You can't just have a good time, you know. It meant however late it was getting, I'd still be there trying to pull. You know, still there like sweating. 3 a.m. drunk, wondering why it's so bright because I'm in the kebab shop. Going up to tables like, anyone, who wants it? I've got some chips. Do you want some chips? Seeing like Darren's pulled up, like, how's Darren? He's walking around like, we're going to do anal! And she's like, Darren!
Unpaid is my comedic style. It's my comedic style. I think you change and as you develop. When I started just trying to copy the people I liked. So like Ricky Gervais, like Bill Burr. I just wanted to be like this sort of like leaning on the mic, like, you know, I'm going to tell you a few things about what you think you know, but it was not to be. And now I'm just like, it's observational, it's quite high energy generally, and I like to think it's quite tight in that there's a joke regularly. So I'm not one of those who takes loads of risks with their sort of like, oh, if I don't have a punchline for ages, but it'll build up to something else. I like to keep it tight. So it's quite rapid fire and punchline, and yeah, just general observational stuff. First time I got paid was £5 for emceeing a night, and it's still the highest I've ever been paid. It was emceeing a night way out in West London, and it was honestly amazing. I don't want to downplay this at all, because it genuinely was like the first time that it felt like, oh shit, this doesn't just need to be a thing that I do as a hobby, I do for myself to no one in basements and places like that. This actually could be a viable career path. This was after getting £5, you know, like, that's how big my head was. And I like to think still is. And it was £5, I was like, oh shit man, we don't all need to work in offices. You could do this, and that was an amazing feeling, to be fair. And it was also the same night someone in the audience like said, oh, let me buy you a drink as well. So just like two things happened on the same night, and it was like from then on it was like, oh man, you can, there's potential to this. It doesn't just have to be this thing you do on your own on the side. So I've got Instagram, which is a pretty big deal. Like you can like follow, subscribe at Aliwaz Gigs on your favourite platform, apart from TikTok, allow that. But for me, the next thing for me is basically I've been thinking this as well. Like, so I don't know, the comedy landscape, whatever you want to call it, is really weird at the moment. So I sort of want to become a bit of a content beast. I want to do more video work. I want to put more stuff out there, more sketches and stuff like that, which I was starting to dabble with when lockdown happened, but now I want to take that a bit more seriously, and I want to capture more of my stand-up, share that more online, and be savvy with that, and be able to build more of my own audience online, which I haven't really been doing at all, because I was just focusing on the live work, but now there's a lot less live work at the moment. So for me, I want to create that audience online of people who like my humour, like my style, and then one day hopefully we'll be able to come see me at a live show.
Had some lose your virginities, man. A lot of my friends, they lost their virginities on holiday. Come back from their summer break at 15 with their prepared press statement. Gather round, everyone! I have become a man. I've had sex with a woman, and she lives in Spain. They don't have Facebook there, so you can't find her. She was beautiful, and importantly, had big tits. No further questions. So why is it called cameras? This is not intended. One of my friends, he just pretended porn scenarios were his actual life to try and trick us. Come back from the weekend and be like, yeah, you know, I was chilling at the mansion. Latino maid, get a little handsy. We're like, Ben, we know you live in a caravan. Why are you trying to trick 15-year-old boys with porn? That's like our area of expertise. If I was on Mastermind at 15, I'd be like, my specialist subject is going to be free online porn videos. Humphreys is going, oh, you've got 2 minutes, your time starts now. I've already finished.
If I had a Netflix special, that is a tough question. Firstly, thank you. I record it wherever they say. They're like, Ali, you're recording it on the side of a boat moving down the Thames. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm happy with the special, whatever. But if I got to choose the Netflix special, I'd probably, because I was supposed to do a show this month at Edinburgh Fringe, but it's all been cancelled. So I'd probably call it Triangle, just because that was the name of. I might call it Triangle. I might call it Doolally, which is like a term my grandpa and Scottish people used to use for just a bit nuts, like a bit crazy. And I like that as just like a comedy, because it doesn't mean you have to talk about anything specific, but it's just a bit bonkers. And my grandpa died recently, and I was like, I think that would be like a good thing to do. So I'll call it Doolally, and then where I record it, it's tough, man. The thing is, you gotta get people there. I don't know how many people will turn up, so maybe we're looking at a 20-seater venue. But if audience wasn't a problem, you know what? Like, I think the coolest gig was that Michael Che gig that I've ever been to, and that was in Union Chapel in Angel. Maybe there, but then I don't know if I feel good about doing it in a church as well. Let's say Union Chapel for now. But you know, Netflix, let's talk, man. Email me and we'll sort out some stuff. Whatever, yeah, that's always. What does comedy mean to me? It's tough. The problem is with comedy, it's quite all encompassing and all consuming as well. It's quite tough. I think when you start thinking of yourself as a comedian, it doesn't let up, because everything you do, you're like, could this be a bit? Is this funny? You start to see life in a different way. Like, experiences don't just become parts of your mosaic of your life. Like, they become like, could this be a material bit? Will this make me really funny on stage and stuff like that? So, in terms of what comedy means to me, it's probably like a relentlessness and a focus, and it's a freedom as well, man. Because if I didn't do it, I have these thoughts in my head, like just like buzzing around. Because before I started doing stand-up, like I used to always want to be the funniest guy in the room. I used to be like, oh, everyone needs to laugh at me, because it was like an insecurity. Whereas when I started doing stand-up, I realised like, I'm not the funniest guy in the room. I've got to try and work to be that. And then it meant with my friends and stuff, I was more chilled out, because it didn't mean so much to me, because I was going up on a Friday night in these clubs performing. I didn't need to like joke over them as much. So for me, comedy is like, it's obsessive and it's focusing, but it is also that freedom to be able to like live the life that's going on in your head more. So that's what it is to me. Safe. Are they all selfies, yeah? Or did you take a movie?
Yeah.
Safe, man.
I'm just seeing all these pictures. My
That
big
was-
edits too.
Safe. That was what, even more, man.
So good.
That was fun, man. I hope there's some stuff you can use in that.
Definitely. That's a good interview. It's a good interview because you don't